Well, hello there, my fellow National Park adventurer. I'm so glad you're here. Today, I want to talk to you about the 10 things you can't miss on your first visit to Glacier National Park. My name is Ash. I'm a former park ranger and the founder of Dirt in My Shoes. And Glacier is one of the most amazing national parks in America. So I am so excited to spend some time with you today talking about my favorite things to do in the park. Now, this list of 10 things that you should do on your first visit is a compilation of all the activities that I have done in Glacier over the years. So I've done many more things than these 10 things. I've narrowed it down so that you know where to spend your time and what I think are the best things that you can see on your first visit to the park. Let's get started. Number 1, Lake McDonald. Lake McDonald is the largest lake in Glacier National Park, and it's really easy to get to. It's found on the west side of the park. You'll see it as you're going to the Sun Road, as you leave Apgar and go up towards the mountains. You'll get to drive right next to it for a long time. So it's a very beautiful lake. There are a few different places to go to enjoy the lake, which I want to talk to you about because it is always one of the highlights of our national park vacation. So Lake McDonald really is the hub of activity on the west side of the park. So as you're driving into the park, you'll hit like the Apgar Village area where you'll find various shops and restaurants and lodges. There's a picnic area there, there's a campground there, there's a boat dock there. So that area is really popular. We like to go there. There's a little beach, and the beaches on Lake McDonald are not sandy, they're rocky, but there's little beaches there, and you can rent paddle boards, you can rent kayaks or canoes, and just hang out at the lake. This is always really fun for us. I've got young kids, and so they love throwing rocks in the water. They love playing in the water. It does stay pretty cold. The water in Glacier is not very warm. However, we really enjoy paddleboarding through here. It's a lot of fun. You can also access Lake McDonald from the Lake McDonald Lodge area, which is about halfway up the lake as you're driving along going to the Sun Road, where again, you'll find more restaurants and lodging options. There's a boat dock there. That's where the Glacier Park boats, the boat tour leaves from. You can rent some canoes there. So there's another option there if you want to hang out at the lake. This lake is really popular for photography. A lot of times you'll see, if you've seen those pictures of like the colored rocks of Glacier with the lake and the mountains in the background, a lot of those are taken at Lake McDonald. Be sure to plan in some time to hang out here. It's really fun. You can get ice cream, play at the lake, have a fun afternoon, especially during the middle of the summer when it can get quite hot outside. So enjoy a dip at the lake and have a lot of fun there. The second thing you can't miss in Glacier is the Going to the Sun Road. And the Going to the Sun Road is the main road through the park. It's what takes you from kind of the lower areas of the park up into the mountains. It hits about 6,600 feet above sea level at the top of the road, which is Logan Pass. So the Going to the Sun Road goes through the park. You'll see as you look at the map, there's a road that cuts right through. It's really windy, it's narrow. It is pretty famous for being kind of a scary drive. You're driving along the cliffs in a lot of places. So there are vehicle limits in place, and do take those really seriously because you don't want to be up there in a vehicle that's too big for this road. You'll be scraping. We actually, in a few places, had to pull our mirrors in on our truck because it was so narrow we couldn't get through. So definitely take those vehicle restrictions seriously. You can't be on there with anything longer than 21 feet, and you can't be on there with anything taller than 10 feet or wider than 8 feet. So if you're in like a standard passenger car, just a family van, or we were up there in our truck and we were okay, except our mirrors were too big. But just keep that in mind. The Going to the Sun Road really is an incredible engineering marvel. They built it so that it looks like it's part of the park still. Like you can, in some areas, you can't even really tell that there's a road going through there. They really tried to keep it from breaking up or ruining the views of the mountains as they built it. And so it's kind of carved into some areas. You've got some really steep drop-offs, just spectacular views. I mean, it really is amazing. And you'll find a lot of the most popular spots or some of the best hiking trails along this road. So definitely do not miss this road while you're in Glacier. One other important thing about the Going to the Sun Road is that it typically does not fully open until about July. And you can usually access it from the months of July through September. So you're talking about a really short window of time where you can drive the whole road. Now you can go to the park outside of those months and get to parts of the Going to the Sun Road. As they plow it for the season, they'll typically start opening it up to certain checkpoints that are clear. So a lot of times in June, for example, like you can usually get to about the Avalanche Creek campground. So you could hike Avalanche Lake from the west side, and usually from the east side, you can get typically to around like the Jackson Glacier Overlook by about mid-June. So there are still things you can do along the Going to the Sun Road if you visit outside of July through September. But if it's a first time visit for you and you really want to see all that Glacier has to offer, I definitely recommend planning your trip during those months so that you can drive the entire Going to the Sun Road. Number 3, Fisher Cap Lake. So Fisher Cap Lake isn't as well known of a spot. It's up in the Many Glacier area of the park, which is just phenomenal. It's such a beautiful area of the park, but it is quite a drive from the west part of Glacier. You're talking several hours. So keep that in mind if you're going to go visit Many Glacier. Perhaps break up your lodging a little bit so you're spending some time on the west and sometime on the east. Fisher Cap Lake, as far as hiking there, it's very, very short hike, about a half a mile, mostly flat. In that half a mile though, you may see quite a bit of stuff. We got stuck. Actually, we couldn't get to our car because there was a bear right on the trail eating berries. But Fisher Cap Lake is mostly famous for the amount of moose that you can usually see there. So be sure to check it out. I have never been there when I've not seen a moose, as long as you're there at the right time of day. So it's really exciting. It's really fun. And it's short and easy hike to get there. We've seen bears, moose, mountain goats, all sorts of animals as we've hiked that area. So it really is a great can't miss stop if you're looking for some wildlife. Number 4, the Trail of the Cedars. This trail is like a boardwalk trail that goes through an old growth forest that takes you through cedar trees and other types of trees. And it's absolutely beautiful. What I love about this trail is it's good for anybody. Because it's a boardwalk trail, it's wheelchair accessible. It's about a mile. It's like a mile loop that goes through the trees. And they have informational plaques and things that you can read as you go through. One of the big highlights of the Trail of the Cedars is kind of at the top of the loop when you're halfway through the hike. You'll reach Avalanche Gorge. There's a bridge that goes over the gorge. The rocks are all sorts of cool colors. The water is just the most vibrant, beautiful blue you've ever seen, and it's just rushing through there. So that's really fun to see. But this trail is great for people of all ages, all abilities, and it's a really beautiful trail in Glacier. Trail of the Cedars is also the kicking off point for the Avalanche Lake Trail. Avalanche Lake is very popular, so consequently the Trail of the Cedars also is quite popular. And this is one of the hardest places in the park to get parking if you're there at the wrong time of day. And so if you need help with some of these more popular areas, or you're hoping to get parking and to do these popular hikes, then be sure to check out the Dirt in My Shoes Glacier itinerary that I have on my website. That will help you plan your day out so that you will be able to get parking at these busy spots. Number 5, St. Mary Falls. St. Mary Falls is an amazing waterfall. It is so beautiful, the color of blue, because it's like the glacial water, and it's just like so powerful and strong, and it drops twice, so it's very picturesque. It's just a beautiful, beautiful waterfall on the east side of the park. The trail is 1.7 miles round trip with about 260 feet of elevation change. If you have the time, you can continue past St. Mary Falls to Virginia Falls, which is an even taller waterfall tucked into the trees. And that one is beautiful as well. So the whole area is just very picturesque. You're right along the shores of St. Mary Lake, and there's nothing better than beautiful blue waterfalls. This trail does travel through an area that was affected by a wildfire, and so there's not much shade. It can get really, really hot along this trail during the summer. So be sure to bring lots of sunscreen, lots of water if you're going to hike this trail because it can be a little bit miserable as you're working your way to the waterfall. The sixth thing you can't miss on your first visit to Glacier is the Highline Trail. Now this trail is probably Glacier's most famous trail. It's known for its cliffside views. There's lots of steep drop-offs. It's a long trail, but it takes you through some amazing mountain scenery. So it's really fun. It's so beautiful and definitely something you'll want to do while you're there. This trail starts from Logan Pass, so it is in the higher elevations of the park. So typically it will still be snow covered into about mid-July, maybe sometimes even longer if the snow levels were really good that year. So keep that in mind as you're planning your trip. If it's important for you to do this trail, especially if you're wanting to do the whole trail, you'll want to plan your trip for a time when the snow should be melted so that you can hike it safely. This trail is about 12 miles, so it is quite long. When I talk to people about planning their trip to Glacier, a lot of them will say, well, we just obviously we don't have that in us. We don't want to hike that far. It's not possible we have, grandma with us or we have little kids with us. And what I always say to that is at least start the trail. Just start it. The views from the very beginning are just amazing. And it's amazing how much different it feels to be on the trail versus just standing at a viewpoint. So I definitely recommend at least starting the trail. You don't have to go very far, maybe even just a quarter mile in to get some really amazing views and to get a taste of what the Highline Trail is. If you love hiking, then definitely carve out some time for this trail. It's one of those trails that's just a bucket list item. It does stay pretty busy, but it's for a reason. And the further in you get, the less busy it is. And so if you can hike the whole route, I definitely recommend it because the views are just phenomenal. Number 7, Grinnell Lake. So Grinnell Lake is located in the mini glacier area of the park. Again, that's quite a drive if you're coming from West Glacier. So I do recommend staying on the east side of the park, at least for a day or two if you're wanting to visit the mini glacier area. Grinnell Lake is really fun. It's one of the most adventurous trails, especially if you have kids with you. It just feels like a big adventure the whole time. So if you're considering hiking this trail, it will actually, if you take the boat, it will take off about 4 miles of hiking, which is really nice. And the boat tour is really fun. This one is unique because it takes you across Swift Current Lake and then you hike for a minute and then you get on another boat and it takes you across Josephine Lake. And at the end of Lake Josephine, then you get to hike to Grinnell Lake, which is about a mile each way, but it's mostly flat. And along that hike, there's a suspension bridge. It's just a really fun trail. And then you get to the lake shore and the lake is just surrounded by cliffs. There's huge waterfalls falling into it. It is just so ideal and so beautiful. And it's fun for kids, which is great. That's an extra added bonus. The last time we did this boat tour and went to Grinnell Lake, we actually saw 4 moose in Lake Josephine, which was so cool. And I have to say, I can't think of a time that I've been to Lake Josephine where we haven't seen moose. Again, it's in the same area as Fisher Cap Lake, which I talked about earlier. They're both in that section of park where there's just so much wildlife. And so it's really exciting. It's really fun. The boat ride is fun. The wildlife sightings are fun. The lake is fun. The trail is fun. So overall, it's a really great hike to add to your can't miss list. Number 8, Avalanche Lake. Avalanche Lake is a really popular trail in Glacier. It's so beautiful. You take the Trail of the Cedars to get up, so you get to see Avalanche Gorge, and then you continue on into the mountains. You're in the trees, you're following the stream, like it's just really beautiful. And then you get up to the lake, which will just make your jaw drop. It's surrounded by cliffs, waterfalls, mountains, all of the things. It's just so beautiful. The hike to Avalanche Lake is 4.6 miles. It gains about 500 feet of elevation. So by no means would I say this is an easy hike. It's more on the moderate side due to length and elevation. However, a lot of families hike this trail. This is one of the trails that a lot of people just don't want to miss, even if they're not usually hikers or don't like to hike very long. A lot of people still do this trail because the views are that good. Avalanche Lake is located on the west side of the park near Lake McDonald, so it is very convenient if you're coming in through the west entrance. It's not a very long drive. In fact, it's along the Going to the Sun Road, but it's along the area of the road that is still pretty flat before you get up into the mountainous sections and the sections with the steep drop-offs. So it's in a really great location. It's easy to get to. It's a beautiful hike, and I definitely recommend doing it with your family. Number 9, Hidden Lake Overlook. The Hidden Lake Overlook is incredible. It is so beautiful. You're hiking like along an alpine meadow. There's like boardwalks you're hiking along. Usually you'll see mountain goats up here in this area. Oftentimes people do see bears, even though this trail is quite busy. So the wildlife still hangs out, even though there are people around. Just be aware of that, but it's really fun and really cool. When you get to the overlook, then you get amazing views of Bear Hat Mountain. The lake is down below. It doesn't actually take you to the shore of Hidden Lake. If you want to do that, you'll have to hike down and further. But the overlook itself is just so beautiful, and it's a great trail for families. The Hidden Lake Overlook Trail is 2.8 miles round trip. It gains about 460 feet of elevation. So again, while it might be considered slightly easy for glacier terms, it probably, if you're not used to hiking, will feel a little bit more difficult than just easy. But it is worth the view. It is so beautiful. And what I like about this area, besides just seeing the wildlife and the beautiful views, is a lot of times there's wildflowers up in this area well into September. So you can see wildflowers, see wildlife, see beautiful mountains. It's just an all-around really amazing hike. The Hidden Lake Overlook Trail does start at Logan Pass, which is one of the most difficult places to get parking in Glacier National Park. It's one of the most popular areas. It's at the highest elevation that the road travels. So keep that in mind. If you're wanting help getting parking here, if you're wanting to know kind of the best times of day to be here, then check out the Glacier itinerary on Dirt in My Shoes. That will help you. Otherwise, it can be really, really crowded because Logan Pass is not only the starting point for Hidden Lake, but is also the starting point for the Highline Trail. So it does stay very, very busy during the summer. In that itinerary, there's also a secret hike, a trail that's not on the park maps that is just really, really amazing. So if you're wanting that information, again, you'll find that in the Glacier itinerary. But the whole area is just phenomenal, and you definitely don't want to miss the Hidden Lake Overlook. And the 10th thing that you don't want to miss when you visit Glacier is seeing a glacier. I don't know if you were wondering when I was going to mention that, but a lot of people come to Glacier National Park to see glaciers. So they're actually not as easy to get to or see as we would hope, but there are a few options for you that I'll walk you through. Okay, so one of my favorite glacier viewing spots is Grinnell Glacier. This is in the mini glacier area of the park. It does require a long hike. It's a strenuous hike. It will take you most of the day to get there, but if you love to hike, then it's a really, really good one. It takes you up into the mountains and takes you to the shores of like the little pond lake thing that's in front of the glacier, and then you're close to the glacier, and it's just really, really beautiful. So if you like to hike and want to see a glacier, that's a really awesome choice. Another choice is you're hiking the Highline Trail, is you're getting close to the chalet. So about a little more than halfway through the entire Highline Trail. There is a spur trail that takes you up like the scree field or the rocky area of the mountain. You can go pretty much straight up there, and it will take you to an overlook where you'll look over and down at the glacier as well. So it is a really interesting way to see it. It's a little bit scary, a little more adventurous, but that is a possibility, and one of my favorite views of a glacier is found along the Highline Trail if you take that spur trail. So that's another option if you really like to hike. If you don't want to hike to see a glacier, then I have a couple of other recommendations for you. The first being, again, in the mini glacier area, you can actually see what's called Salamander Glacier. You'll probably want binoculars for this because you can see it with your naked eye, but it's quite far away. So if you want to get a better look, then binoculars would definitely help with that. You can see Salamander Glacier from several different areas in Mini Glacier, one of them being the Mini Glacier Hotel. You can see it from Swift Current Lake. So if you want to see that glacier, again, binoculars help, but you can see it just from one of those areas. My last recommendation for seeing a glacier in Glacier National Park is the Jackson Glacier Overlook. You will find this overlook along the Going to the Sun Road on the east side of the park, closer to the St. Mary side. And it's just a pull out along the side of the road. You can pull out, you can see it. They have an interpretive panel to show you what you're looking at, but it's a really easy way to see a glacier. So if you're hoping to see one and you don't want to do much hiking, that's probably your best option. Okay, so there's the 10 things you can't miss on your first visit to Glacier. Again, I've done way more things than this, but I really feel like if you hit these 10 things that you'll be so happy with your vacation. You'll have seen some of the most beautiful, amazing parts of the park, and you won't go home with any FOMO or anything like that. You'll have seen some incredible things in Glacier. This list typically takes about 4 days to work your way through. So if you can give yourself that amount of time, then you will be able to get through all of it. If you need help planning out your vacation, or you want help knowing how to fit these 10 things into that amount of time, then check out the Dirt in My Shoes itinerary. I have one for Glacier on my site, which will help immensely with the planning process. I am so glad you're here. I am so glad you're going to Glacier. Please, I would love to hear about your vacation. Stay in touch. If you liked this video and want to see more things like it, then please subscribe to the Dirt in My Shoes channel. And I hope that you have the most epic trip to Glacier and get some dirt in your shoes.